I remember at a school, I don't know what year I was in, they asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said an Olympian. I think like the first time I was like, I could do this was we were watching London 2012, so I was obviously a bit older, 17. I was watching Nick Woodbridge and Sam Wheel competing, and I was just thinking, I could do that better than them. Obviously like this cocky 17-year-old at the time, but like just really confident in myself. My dad's Malaysian Chinese, so, and I think there is a bit of a stereotype where they have that discussion of like academics come first and then you play the piano and then sport if you have time. It wasn't a massive thing in the family, but for like a couple of months there were these discussions of you need to be focusing on your academics. And it wasn't until I sort of proved that one, had no interest in pursuing music whatsoever, and two, like kept my academics like scores really strong, that like everything was like worked really smoothly after that. At the time I was getting flown to under 17 Europeans in Bulgaria, under 19 world champs in China, and just as a kid I wasn't really thinking, I'm going to go get UK sport funding and this is going to be my career until I'm X years old. Like none of that came into my head at all. It was just the same reason I started it is because I enjoyed it. I was doing it with my mates, and then I was really lucky that I sort of kept following the road, and it's brought me here. The fencing was the first event at Rio, and just stepping out into the fencing hall, and you've got a massive crowd compared to what we're used to, and there was like a huge sort of plaque hanging in the sports hall corner just of the Olympic rings, and I remember just sort of like looking up, got goosebumps, and just felt like this is a lifelong dream. It brought the best out of me, but at the time like the result didn't matter. It was just like from that first fight you're like, I'm an Olympian. It doesn't matter if I fall over and break my knee, but I'm now an Olympian. I've been at an Olympics, and I know that I could have medalled at that games. At the time I was just in such good physical shape, fenced really well, and everything else went well. So yeah, I was in second in medal contention, and then my gun just misfired once, and it was just like that, something a little bit unusual that threw me. I suddenly noticed there were loads of fans like screaming behind the shooting range, and like completely forgot what I was meant to be doing. Just because the outside world only sees sort of world rankings, how I've done the year before, they don't actually see what's going on behind the scenes. And so for me it was like, it's obvious that I had the potential to medal, and I just didn't like produce on the day. Just before COVID, like a few months, it was almost a blessing, he passed away. He was always a really emotional guy. He came to my graduation, and he was one of those like just big, he used to be a rugby player, sort of 6'6", but he'd be the first one to sort of tear up over any like emotional or happy moment, and they've always been a big part of my journey, so that was like just one of the massive emotions that I had on the finishing line at Tokyo. ...2019 was my breakthrough year in terms of I started winning medals every competition. I was world number one, and just like really, really confident. I'd had a fantastic winter training block running, swimming the fastest I'd ever been. Everything was looking really good for Tokyo Olympics, like building in the right direction, and then lockdown hit, and then the Olympics got cancelled. And I really struggled with that. You have that like doubt in your mind of, okay, I'm really fit this year, will I be able to just keep it going another year? For the first 2-3 weeks over lockdown, we were told to keep running. And like we were doing some swimming in the river, like open water swimming, but I just didn't go. I was like, what's the point? Yeah, I struggled and sort of just sat in my room and played video games for 3 weeks. And then I sort of just managed to see the positives. Like I started going out for runs. I enjoyed just the simplicity of one sport a day. Like normally we have such complicated lives trying to juggle 5 sports, that just running was so easy and really nice. I just sort of turned a really negative experience into something that I enjoyed. So I actually had a really interesting build-up to the games where all the training was going really well, but you had to do with COVID like the 3-day and the 2-day pre-flight tests. So I did my 3-day test, sent it off, no problem. And then my 2-day pre-flight test got lost in the post. So the day that I'd planned to just be packing all day and being like really thoughtful and make sure I don't forget anything, I was instead doing a sort of 2.5-hour drive to Heathrow to get an emergency test, spending the most nervous 90 minutes of my life waiting for the result, and then driving back 2.5 hours. So by the time I actually got on the plane 2 days later, I was actually just so relieved to be making it out there that it really took any thoughts of results sort of out of my mind. But by the time we got to the holding camp, I was like a child in a sweet shop. I was just so excited to be at another Olympics after all the pressures of COVID that, yeah, I didn't think about like results or anything. I was just enjoying it, and then again, like Rio fencing, it just brought the best out of me. Having had that 12 months off, like the first couple of competitions back, I actually fenced terribly. Both of them were one of the worst fences I'd ever had, just because I was so out of the swing of things that it took me like a while to shake the rust off. And also when you go into that as one of like the top athletes, everyone's sort of gunning you down. And so it was a little bit of a mindset shift from being one of the chasers, trying to like be the top guy, to then everyone else sees you as that threat and they sort of up their game when they're fencing you. I'd been thinking about being an Olympian since I was 5. And then 20 years later, I've done it, I've got that gold medal. It's kind of like, what now? And I think athletes like Adam Peaty, Max Whitlock have spoken a lot about having that desire to get back out training. I took, 6-7 months just doing nothing, just sort of doing things for fun, just because you can't go to sport and just do it robotically. Like, you need to have something to aim for always. My advice in general is like, you start the sport because you enjoy it, and there's got to be an element of that all the way through. And if you lose that, you're going to lose the drive and that you need to be successful. I guess I'm lucky in the sense that I'm not a Tom Daley or like Harry Kane, where it's constant, like anywhere you go. So yeah, I got recognised in a Chinese restaurant, someone screamed my name. But then, like, I don't know, the Premier League starts or something else, and the world moves on, and as an Olympian you get your spotlight once every 4 years. So it was a really special moment, like people recognising my achievement, and so no, it felt really special. It was a fantastic sort of few months after getting back. I was lucky, like I'm from Britain, and the BAA were really supportive in terms of just going for advice of how do you think is the best way to like sort of approach this problem. And also being Olympic champion gives you a natural platform where people know you and will listen to what you say. Every competition was trying to think of ways to sort of promote the athlete voice as well as then go and compete the same day. I think you've got to stand up for what's right. I don't know who said it, but someone once told me like the moment you sort of turn away from your morals once, then that's like the beginning of doing it continuously. So yeah, I like, people know where I stand, and I'm quite proud of that. As an athlete, my specialities are 5 sports, and I've got a maths degree. I've got no idea about politics. I've never been particularly interested in it. I had to be honest and be like, I don't really know the best way to approach this. So naturally you go and sort of ask other people who are experts in that field for advice. I'm an ambassador to try and like encourage anyone else who has issues to sort of reach out and use this resource, because it is so valuable.